So I told the story some time ago about a time I had to terminate an employee, and I'm going to tell the opposite story, where I talk about an employee who I was being pushed to terminate, or I had cause to terminate, but in reality, I took that as an opportunity to invest in them, give them the tools they needed to adapt, and ultimately keep them. So I was working at a company that was going through an enterprise transformation. So that means from the top down there were changes happening, right? So we're trying to stop doing certain. There are certain business units that are doing a lot of things by hand, right, with calculator, pen, paper. We're trying to automate those through certain sales tools, business tools, and we're trying to. And this is in a metropolitan area. We are trying to also modernize our cloud architecture. We're trying to move things to the cloud because we have a lot of things on premise, and for real estate reasons, we're trying to get rid of all our in-house servers so that we can repurpose a lot of this square footage, into something valuable. Like maybe we can put more customer success desks over here. Maybe we can put more sales teams, because servers take up a lot of space, right? They take up a lot of space, and the things associated with maintaining servers likewise take a lot of space, right? Not to mention, I mean, the HVAC requirements when dealing with a lot of the heat that comes off of a lot of these servers, helping the rooms run cooler and whatnot, making sure you have a lot of technical staff to maintain these servers. It's just there's a lot of overhead that there's an immediate return on your investment to move things to the cloud. So these are just some examples, but that's the gist of it. It's just the company is going through this change from the top to the bottom. And these are some of the things that we're thinking about that employees can't really relate to because they don't know, why certain decisions are being made. So I had an employee that was being very slow to adapt to our new ways of working, right? I mean, this is an employee who one week he's there and he's working on our Linux servers, and then the next week he comes in and we have a coach telling everyone how to use Azure and how everything's going to be hosted on Azure and how who's going to handle what support, because we're trying to have a managed service type agreement where they're going to handle certain aspects of support. So it's not just that things are on the cloud, but it's also where do we draw the line in the sand? How do we define responsibilities, right? Like what is everyone's scope, what everyone's new responsibilities and job duties, and new ways of working. Never mind technologies that we're using to interact with different systems is also going to change. We're going to use more commercial tools. We're getting away with a lot of internally developed tools. So that's also that a lot of people whose job it was to maintain tools that were internally developed are now being told to sort of, I guess, modify certain commercial tools that allow for modification. It's not just out the box usage. It's things that you can kind of formulate based on your personal taste or use cases. You can change it the way you want. So I had an employee that stuck out because he was a very senior employee and he was very, very slow to meet certain milestones. So for example, if we're moving things to the cloud, leadership says basically within like a month or two, this employee should be able to do certain things. Like they should be fluent, proficient in certain things, and we're going to have our coaches or trainers sign off on that. And if they're not passing certain exams or quizzes, if they're not proficient in certain technologies, and these are being notated by our external vendors, then this is someone that we might have to put on a performance plan and ultimately dismiss, because at the end of the day, when a company pivots, employees have to pivot with the company. If a company is embracing change and the employee isn't able to adapt to that change, unfortunately, the company is just, I don't want to say corporate greed. It is corporate greed, but at the same time, I also understand that companies are like, we want to still use this employee, but if they can't learn the new things, then why do we have them? We'll just dismiss them and thank them for maintaining the old ways of working and all the work until now. But if they still can't keep up with us, we just don't know what to do, right? So I had an employee, and he was not doing too well in some of the classes. He was not doing a great job keeping up with the work, and a few people were complaining to me. So I had a conversation with the employee, and I'm basically like, hey, so we recognize that you're a COBOL expert. We recognize old IBM technologies. We know you're the Xerox expert, but this is and this is just a few examples. I mean, he was proficient in a lot of things, but unfortunately, a lot of things he's proficient in are not being handled by external parties. So, I had the conversation with him that, hey, there's been some performance issues with you. and I'd love to have a conversation and just kind of explore how can I empower you to achieve a better self. How can I invest in you? What can I give you to basically help you be a commentator or help you do your job? So the employee was very self-aware. He's like, look, I'm very weak in these technologies, but more importantly, he said no memos or announcements were made until you guys basically made the decision and signed contracts. Like he said, I wish you guys would make announcements ahead of time. Like there should be some change management board or something, because he said you guys are just, he said, I admit I'm not really as adaptable as my younger counterparts, but he said there was no announcements made. So, I'm still just trying to wrap my head around all the changes happening, right? So he said that's, I think, an issue I'm having with is I'm very detail oriented. I'm very communicative. I tell you guys like 6 months ahead of time, if we were going to turn off this fax server, right, I would tell the sales team no more, don't accept fax number, remove all the fax number from any mention on the website or your email signatures. We're going to turn this off. No one is faxing anything from now on. He said, like, I would give you guys like a 6 months heads up. And he's like, now I'm being told on Monday when I come to work, we're being trained in this. He said, it's a lot. And I feel like I'm drinking from a fire hose. Like, I just need more time than everyone else to kind of get acclimated. So I said, okay, I mean, that is something I can do. So I'm having this conversation. I'm telling him where is he short and what needs to be accomplished. Management might have a certain timeline, but I have flexibility when it comes to that. So I told him, okay, you need more time, but more importantly, I said, what can I give you? Are there books that we can buy you? Are there courses we can secure for you? Is there certifications that we can get you some voucher for? Essentially, using this conversation that we're having, what can I do from A to Z to make sure you have a job in 6 months, to make sure you're here in 6 months, then management is happy with you in 6 months? So he was like, I want, LinkedIn Learning and this subscription or plural, so, whatever online web tools that existed. He was like, I want all of these, and I want access to this, Microsoft Architect certification or this Solutions Architect certification, this and that. We're using the Power Platform. He's like, I want to pay for these courses on the Power Platform and all this stuff. So I open a dialogue with an employee that's struggling. And that employee knew to use the dialogue to their advantage. I made it very clear to them, and he did. And that's what's very great about this story, is that a lot of people see an employee underperforming and just put them on a PIP, which is unfortunate. But as managers, we have to be proactive. We have to reach out to an employee that's struggling, and we have to do whatever we can to help them. Not every employee is self-aware and knows where they're weak. Not every employee will even accept that they're weak. But I like that this employee was like, look, yes, I am falling behind, and it's kind of management's fault, but this is what we can do to get me back on track. So I listened to the employee. I made sure that in the future we were very more communicative with changes, why we're making changes, some of the rationale. And I made sure he had all the resources available to him to basically adapt to the new world, the new ways of working and doing business. So I was able to mitigate that and have that conversation. There were other employees who were slow to change and didn't meet certain quality gates, but thankfully it became a systemic enough issue that management eventually became very loose with certain deadlines, because they said, yeah, we were listening to our external vendors who said, yeah, they should know everything in 3 months, or they should be able to do everything in 2 months. They should be an expert in 1 month in this regard and that regard and this and that. But management was like, yeah, no, people are failing exams left and right. We think people need more time, so we accept they need more time. So there it is. There's a story where I had a reason to, or I had some push to terminate someone, but I decided to be a little bit more empathic and understanding. Hear someone's story, internalize their point of view and their struggles with, pivoting, and just doing what I can as a boss to help my people be better, right? I like to see people achieve their better selves, and doing what I can to help them along the way. Because at the end of the day, employees are people. They have stories, they have rationales and reasons, and they deserve to be heard. They're not just metrics that someone has failed to meet these requirements. It's always worth opening a line of communication with your employee and letting them know that you're here for them and that you do want them to succeed and you will do what you can to succeed, and giving them a platform to speak to you and let you know their thoughts and how they can, how they can improve. So hopefully this example of this story was of value. Um, and yeah, I look forward to adding some more interesting content.